Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. Tomorrow I come back home and the normal, if you will, videos begin once again. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Shiba Inu's token burn rate has reportedly surged by nearly 8,000% as the Shiba Inu community celebrates the popular meme-based cryptocurrencies listing on yet another major crypto exchange. According to a report by the Daily Hodl, SHIB burn tracker SHIBurn reported a 7,900% increase in the burn rate on Friday, with 43 million tokens being burned in a single day. Over 410 trillion Shiba Inu tokens have been burned so far. That's a gigantic number. 410 trillion tokens have been burned so far. The burn rate mechanism was introduced in 2021 after Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin burned 90% of his SHIB holdings and donated the rest to charity. The Shiba Inu community has since continued the practice, gradually taking SHIB out of circulation. Crypto derivatives exchange BTCC, which claims to have a $6.81 billion 24 trading volume, announced on the 3rd of March its support for SHIB and 5 other altcoins. Here's the tweet right here. It says, GM with a cup of digital coffee. SHIB has arrived on BTCC. In this new round of listings, we've also added CFX, ACH, Core, NVDA, I assume that's supposed to be NVIDIA, and AMD. I did not know that these were coins, but alas, here we are. It says they have up to 50x leverage as well, and that just sounds completely unsafe. So, cool. Shiba Inu news is in the news every single day because it's Shiba Inu. They have a new exchange listing on BTCC. If you're using it, well, there you go. Now you can use SHIB there. And they also listed 5 other coins at the exact same time. And yeah, let's move on. Also this is actually quite popular news. Jack Dorsey, the CEO at Block, announced a new Bitcoin Lightning Network service provider that is being called C equals. According to an official announcement, the new service is part of the TBD initiative, which aims to create a suite of Bitcoin-based tools to give users more control over their finances. I think this is supposed to be a tweet, but it's just letters. It says, "Hey, Lightning Network, wavy emoji, we're here," and then there's an address. The Lightning Network is a second-layer payment solution that allows users to send and receive Bitcoin off-chain. The solution speeds up transactions on the blockchain and avoids long waiting periods to validate a transaction on the network. And there's a chart right there for some odd reason. Per the announcement, C equals will build the infrastructure to allow people to leverage Bitcoin's second layer solution and to support the future of payments. The new service provider identified the lack of liquidity in the Lightning Network as a major issue for its adoption and future. Jack Dorsey, as I've mentioned before in a recently previous video, really loves Bitcoin. He thinks, and is a true believer in the sense that he thinks that the Bitcoin network, or that Bitcoin, will eventually be the only cryptocurrency, and as such, he is currently dedicating a large portion of his life to it. The Lightning Network was created around 2016, 2017, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the long ago. And the idea was that, and still is that any normal person would be able to take a Bitcoin, a fraction of Bitcoin, you can even just take 1,000,000 Satoshis, throw it onto the Lightning Network, and every transaction beneath that threshold of the 1,000,000 Satoshis, or however much you put into the Lightning Network, would be able to pass through your network. That's kind of the general idea. However, I think a large portion of the news that we've gotten since 2018, and I even say until mid-2022, has been very heavily institutional based. This started with Coinbase. I think Binance did some of it. I think maybe Kraken as well. It was definitely also Gemini, Fidelity, BlackRock, etc., where they began to announce that basically Bitcoin and crypto were kind of only for the rich. And we got a lot of news that the institutions would basically be taking care of everything. They were making all the custody solutions. They were making all the other layers. They were doing all these other things. Of course, they could in some way be community driven, or people could, contribute to them in whatever way that they decided to do, or maybe they had enough coins to be able to vote. But I think the Lightning Network, while adoption has grown, has not really taken off, because I think that, hear me out here, I think a lot of people just assumed that other rich people would have already built out the system more. So the Lightning Network exists. It is a thing. People are using it right now. But in order to get to the illustrious 1 million transactions per second for Bitcoin, you would need, around a 10x to the amount of Bitcoin that are currently locked inside of the Lightning Network. And I assume that most normal people do not have an entire Bitcoin. Most normal people maybe have a tenth of a Bitcoin, maybe a fourth of a Bitcoin, and they are not as willing to lock up the only Bitcoin that they have into this system. I think when we get news like this is my opinion, I think people like Jack Dorsey, we know that Jack Dorsey has an egregious amount of Bitcoin. He has, I would assume, at least over 100,000 Bitcoin, because the news that we got back in 2014 was that the Winklevoss twins, I think, have over 200,000 Bitcoin, and that was almost 10 years ago. So we can only assume that Jack Dorsey is not far behind them and or has passed them. But a lot of times when these solutions are created for the Bitcoin network, for the cryptocurrency community, a lot of times it is thrown at us as in like, this should be community driven. Make sure to lock up your coins in this protocol. Do this in order for X to happen. But when it comes to something as big as Bitcoin, and hear me out here, I think a lot of people are going to be far less willing to lock up the fourth of the Bitcoin that they have that could potentially reach $1 million, because you don't want to lock it inside of any network. You can take it out of Lightning, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the new service provider that identified the lack of liquidity in the Lightning Network as a major issue. Because we also heard years ago that the New York Stock Exchange, Bakkt, and a bunch of other companies were going to be performing things with the Lightning Network. So I think a lot of people simply assumed the way that it works is that, let's say you have an entire Bitcoin and you want to make a payment passage for anything less than 1 million Satoshis. Everyone with me? Cool, got it. There are 100 million Satoshis in an entire Bitcoin, meaning with one Bitcoin, you'd be able to open up 100 different payment rails. So I also kind of assumed these companies would simply put forth 5,000 or 10,000 Bitcoin each, which we know that they have, lock it into the system, and therefore, that would open up tens of thousands of payment rails across all these different companies, and we would have no more discussion about any type of liquidity in the Lightning Network. Via their official Twitter handle, they stated, "Liquidity from reliable nodes can be hard to come by when you need it, making payments difficult. We want to make it easy and reliable for you to send and receive payments over Lightning. We've been working behind the scenes with it says CATS Spiral. Maybe that's a typo. To cook up a routing node that will make Lightning easier and more dependable for businesses and people that transact on the network. The new service provider is looking for partners from different sectors with different needs to work on their Lightning Network-based payment infrastructure. In the long run, C equals wants to bring 1 billion users, that is billion with a B, users to the Bitcoin ecosystem and improve the current payment rails." I feel like it's definitely already possible, but I think, my opinion, I think the richest people who have the most amount of Bitcoin are also relatively unwilling to stake a huge portion of their coins or lock it into the Lightning Network for whatever the reason might actually be. So you can't simply say, after all these years of focusing just on the wealthy, all the, all the custody options and all these other things that were not meant for us. Not saying that Jack Dorsey hasn't explicitly been one of the people who's mainly been helping the rich per se, but a lot of these initiatives, when they don't work out then come to us and they go, hey, it's for everyone. You should start doing this as well. And it's like, well, you ignored us for 5 years. We're not really part of the community because you were only focusing on the wealthy. Very popular news. It says Jack Dorsey's TBD announces a new Bitcoin Lightning service provider known as C equals. Still no real reason as to why it's called C equals. It says the name refers to the speed of light in Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared, but I don't think I have a feeling that's not at all what it is. I think anyway, that's the Jack Dorsey is trying to make Lightning more reliable because he has dedicated his life to Bitcoin. He believes it's going to be the only currency in about 15 years. You think I'm joking? You can look it up. He's had many discussions and many interviews, and he stood on stage before and has said those exact words. And yeah, can you imagine if Bitcoin becomes the only currency and he has 200,000 of them? I mean, if I had 200,000 Bitcoin, I would also be a true believer. You bet your bottom dollar. And yeah. Let's move on. Also in the news, blockchain enthusiast and lawyer John E. Deaton, who is a prominent member of the leading crypto firm Ripple XRP's community, that is a weird sentence, shared a series of tweets on his official page briefly tracing the journey of the SEC Ripple case since 2021, when he filed the motion to intervene as a third-party defendant. Notably, he began his tweet by claiming that apparently there were 12,600 XRP holders who joined the motion in 2021, who joined the lawsuit basically, piggybacked on it. And now there are apparently more than 75,000 XRP holders in just 2 more years. He said technically it was 12,600 XRP holders who joined the motion to intervene. Today, the punitive class is more than 75,000, but think about the motion to intervene. Thousands of retail, that's us, digital asset holders asked a federal judge to make them actual defendants in a case. Significantly, Deaton's tweets came in response to the YouTuber Richard Hart. Isn't he that guy who twerked on stage in the Louis Vuitton suit? I'm pretty sure that's him. Who referred to the XRP case as an instance of filing for an amicus brief or motion, commenting by saying, everyone is virtually attacked by bad precedent, and everybody wants the best arguments heard. Win together. Reacting to the YouTuber, Deaton pondered on the criticism he received at the beginning for filing the unlikely motion when many people, including lawyers, called him crazy. Interestingly, Deaton says the SEC waged a war against crypto. He said, the point is the industry must accept that the SEC waged a war versus crypto when it attacked not only how a promoter sells a token, but attacked the token itself, calling software code a security per se, no matter the seller or the circumstances surrounding the sale. What I think is, and I believe in a better world, I think a lot of people who in the very beginning, you know who you are, people clapped. I remember Twitter was ablaze that day when the SEC filed lawsuit against Ripple, and everyone was like, I told you it's a security, the worst thing in the entire world. Everyone lost their minds. And I told you how it works. Everyone keeps spitting on each other until they realize that you're also just spitting on yourself. Because I think a lot of larger players now, you must remember, years ago, people from Coinbase, Jack Dorsey-esque people, very Bitcoin maximalist and other higher cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, yada, 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 all made fun of XRP. Now they realize that XRP/Ripple has to win this lawsuit or every other coin goes down the exact same way. So this is why in the very beginning, as a lawyer coming forward to be like, hey, I'm going to file something so that normal people who are also affected by this can also join the lawsuit. Of course you'll be called crazy because no one thinks that anything else affects them. Everyone in cryptocurrency assumes that their coin is the only coin and there's no other coins that can touch them. So cool. The news is there are apparently now 75,000 people who are holding XRP who are in some sort of way part of this lawsuit. I still believe that this should have been resolved a year and some change ago. I find it very weird that it is now March and we are still having this discussion, that this has still not been resolved, that there still has not been a judgment from the judge. And I do say, in the nicest way, if she does not rule in favor of Ripple, I think her Twitter is going to look like something crazy, because people in the cryptocurrency community are going to look for someone to blame, and I can only imagine who they're going to go to. So still fingers crossed that she makes the correct decision, because yeah, that's apparently there are now 75,000 people who have jumped onto the back of this court case as well. And yeah, let's move on. Also I want to say logical news, and I have my own idea about this. Santiment, the market intelligence platform based on social metrics and on-chain data, has identified an ongoing high negative crypto sentiment. In a tweet, Santiment confirmed it is difficult ascertaining the main reason behind what is described as one of the highest levels of what they call FUD that they have ever recorded. It says some bizarrely high levels of negative crypto sentiment has appeared this weekend, particularly here on Twitter. It's hard to gauge what may be contributing to one of the highest levels of FUD Santiment feed has ever recorded. Read our thoughts, and they have a bunch of charts right here. So I firmly believe, and this is what I think I got into this around 2018. I had assumed for a while, stupidly, that's my fault, that the cryptocurrency community was an actual community. I assumed that if we did well, that is to say, if a coin did well, we all did well. On the other side, if a coin did bad or wasn't doing too good, I assumed that most of the community would have stepped in. Around the end of 2017, the first maximalists began to appear. We've always had people who liked Bitcoin, who believed in Ethereum, who really thought XRP was going to be the next big thing, but for some reason everyone got very locked into their minds and began to spread large amounts of toxicity, large amounts, amongst the internet in a way that they were trying to the word's beyond greedy, it's something else, mean-spiritedly trying to lower the valuations of other coins by getting people to believe a large number of lies. That is to say, Bitcoin's too slow. It's never going to make it. Ethereum's going to become the number one coin. You got to look into it. Bitcoin's centralized. Ethereum's terrible. Look at what Vitalik Buterin is doing. I just read a news article that said, for those of you who, you can look this up, I can't say the exact words because of the algorithm. Years ago, Vitalik Buterin had to do something called proof, so we have proof of work, proof of stake. He had to do something called proof of life because people were lying about, you get it, proof of life online, which caused Ethereum's price to drop. This is also a rumor that was started online to get people to sell off their Ether. Same exact thing happened from Bitcoin maximalists to XRP. You kind of get the general point. What's happening now is, I think, on another completely large level, where people are figuring out very easy ways to be able to lie about other projects, other people. I think this, the sentiment when prices are going up and then they go down a tiny bit. This was a more like jovial thing years ago, where the prices would go down for a couple of days and everyone would go, well, I'm happy that prices have gone down, so now I have more time to buy. That kind of idea. But now it's coming more so in the form of attacks where people are simply lying online. And then they go, well, I can't confirm or deny. I can't substantiate any of these rumors, but I heard from a friend that this is happening. It spreads very fast, and the person who this might be against, they may not be online, and therefore they can't defend themselves or the cryptocurrency or the project. Prices begin to fall, and because the price has fallen, major news reports, that is to say Bloomberg and Morningstar and all these other places, began to report that something is going wrong because the price of the coin is dropping after this person noted this thing on Twitter. This causes a huge amount of negative sentiment. I think we are at the point where Hear me out here. Life has been very rough. Always. Life isn't a walk in the park, as they say. But since 2020, I think people have kind of de-evolved. Devolved, is that the word for it? From what they previously were. I think there was so much anxiety wrapped up in 2020 and 2021, especially with this euphoric phase that we all experienced over the course of 2021 when prices were going a lot higher. And now that prices across the board have dropped, there's no longer you used to have a lot of finger pointing. You could say, well, look at that. The crypto market has dropped, but my NFTs are still going strong. You could say, well, the stock market has dropped, but crypto's still roaring, but everything's down. Home prices, morale, people are getting fired, you name it. It's all a poop show right now. And I think this is just I think people's anxiety and fear of the future, of the present, of everything, the lack of money that people think that they deserve or what they thought that they would have has kind of expanded into the cryptocurrency space in such a weird way that whenever we do get news about something that years ago would have been nothing, the collapse of Celsius, the collapse of a bank, the collapse of a cryptocurrency or a company or anything else, these things rattle people's minds. And I think this is what I've just experienced, because I told you I lurking is kind of a weird word, but I lurk around on Twitter to see what people are talking about. And very little things set people off. And I mean tiny, minuscule things. I was chatting with a friend. This was a couple of days ago. We were sitting in a cafe and we were talking about the cryptocurrency space and the NFT market. And he was telling me that he's buying a whole bunch of NFTs from certain projects, which I will not name, and mainly because the prices are very low. So he was asking me, did I have a certain set of NFTs? And I told him no. For those of you who missed it, last summer, I was robbed. Someone figured out how to steal some of my NFTs, and a lot of them are gone. Not the ones on Vivi, but the ones on OpenSea. And he was saying that there was a major NFT project, like with a huge, gigantic, like actual physical company who's also making NFTs, and they've been doing it for a while. They created a physical NFT. They created a physical item that corresponded to the NFT. So if you minted this NFT, you were able to get the physical version. For some reason, one of the items on the actual item that they were trying to sell can't be shipped outside of the United States. For whatever the reason, I haven't looked into it. I was listening to my friend's story. And he said that people online completely lost their minds. People began to sell off the other NFTs that they had gotten. They said that they had lost so much faith in the project. You know, how dare you try and scam us? What's going on? What's happening here? I believed in you guys, and now I sold everything. There was someone famous who announced that he had just sold $1 million worth of NFTs from the company because he had completely lost faith. And I sat there listening to my friend, and he said the weirdest part is that all these people got these other NFTs for free. Let me explain. The first NFTs that this company released it wasn't an egg. It was some kind of thing that would eventually hatch. And the thing inside of it gave you the NFT, whatever the item actually was. And my friend said, if you had, here we go. If you had purchased 5 of those eggs, if you will, and they had hatched, you now had 5 NFTs related to that company. The way that the company kept the flow going is that if you held those 5 NFTs, a couple of months later, they airdropped a brand new free NFT to you for each one of those things that you held. So at this point, the original 5 that you have, you now have 10. You received 5 for free. A couple of months later, they actually released a small little like metaverse capsule kind of thing. So you could go inside of your own little capsule and live inside there and experience life. But those were also airdropped for free. Everyone with me? This is now 15 NFTs. He said a couple of weeks later, they released another section of the AirPod home metaverse drop thing where you had like an additional room. If you had the additional 5, the original 5 NFTs, you now have 20 NFTs, 15 of which were given to you for free. If you had all those other things, you were also airdropped the 2.0, another egg. When that egg hatched, you got another NFT. If you held that NFT, you got another NFT for the ones that you held. So my friend was telling me all of this, and he said that there are certain people who, in the very beginning, they bought 10 of these original NFTs for maybe $100 each, roughly around $1,000 for all 10 NFTs that they had. He said when the bull market of 2021 was taking place, the original $100 these people paid for the original NFT went up to around $15,000, $20,000 each. So you've paid now $1,000 and your NFT original value has ballooned to $150,000 to $200,000. He said the other airdropped NFTs that they also received, a lot of these things were going for 5 Ether. And keep this in mind, this is back when Ethereum was $3,000 per Ether. He said by the time Ether got to 4,000, other airdrops were happening. And he said some of these people had made millions. You remember all the hype. Some of these people had made millions of dollars just from all the airdrops that they received from the original NFTs that they purchased. However, to finish the story, this same exact project made a mistake in not realizing that one item on the physical item could not be shipped outside of the United States on that day. And people lost it. And people began to throw as much negative energy as they could at the project. That was the point to be made, is that regardless of everything that people have gotten, people are still hyper negative. It's the same thing on Vivi. I want to find out, I think the name of the website, not affiliated. I think it's called NFT Tracker. I think that's what it is. You can look it up. They mainly have like a gigantic area just for Vivi NFTs. You can even see a lot of the NFTs that dropped, of course, in the very beginning, they were low prices. NFTs on Vivi were $2, $3, $4. I'm not joking. The Marvel Comics #1, the first one that I bought was $4, and I stupidly only bought 1 or 2, being like, I think 1 or 2 is fine. I think the all-time high for Marvel Comics #1 was around $400, $500 for the common. It was something absolutely insane. Now that the market has fallen back down, that everything has fallen back down, the price of Marvel Comics #1 for a common is around $50. I don't know the exact number. If you look at it, people have still made a multi-thousand% increase from the original $6.99 that they put into the app. And if you were lucky enough to get a rare, an ultra rare, or a secret rare, those are still going for like $7,000, $8,000. You made a really good profit. However, people on Vivi now, a large portion of the community gets so angry that prices aren't moving up, and it's like, you don't realize what you have, what you've gotten, how far we've come as a community. The thing that you bought that was $7 is now worth at least $50,000, if not $7,000. The NFTs that you bought from that company, you now have been airdropped 9 other NFTs. You are far ahead than everyone else that you probably know. But alas, whenever anything happens in crypto or in NFTs right now, everyone completely flips and loses their mind, and everyone becomes super negative and starts throwing all this crazy energy around at people, which people don't appreciate. Nobody wants negative energy thrown in their direction. So everyone else begins to act super negative and starts going completely crazy. And this is where we get the situations where you have to do proof of life. This same exact thing with Vitalik, with proof of life, the same thing just happened with Changpeng Zhao. Someone created a rumor that the IBF backwards that did something to him. And yeah, you get what I'm saying. Look it up. It was also in the news. So I think one of the only things that will mitigate a large amount of this negativity is a couple of things. I think we need, of course, the cryptocurrency market to go up, but we need a large portion of these people who are only in the market just for hyper profits, not realizing that they've already made millions. We need them to cash out and leave the market. We don't, and I think a lot of people have dragged their friends into the cryptocurrency market, maybe trying to share something good or nice, or trying to make, the crypto space bigger by having more people inside of it. But the negativity is completely out of control. And my comment section here, I've been telling you guys that for years. My comment section is normally very rarely negative in some sort of way. I have a lot of nice people who leave nice comments. Hello to all of you. I'm sorry that I can't leave a like on every single one, but I do see your comments. Thank you for the niceness. But everybody else is very intense, and I think this will only continue until these people actually leave the market, buy their Lambos, and go live their life somewhere else. So, yeah. We need the stock market to go back up. We need the Fed to stop raising interest rates. But we'll see what actually ends up happening because, something has to give at some point. So that's the sentiment says. There's a bizarrely high level of negative crypto sentiment, and there shouldn't be. We're all doing extremely well. Unless you bought at the all-time high when you jumped into the hype when you had a whole year and a half before to jump in. I think nearly everyone is in profit in some sort of way. Especially if you bought when the dips were happening. Crazy news, right? Yeah, that's the cryptocurrency space, and that's the sentiment news. And yeah, let's move on. Right. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.